This video is about the religious education secondary school syllabus in the UK and the fact that it is uncannily aligned with the establishment's agenda for eugenics. When you listen to what's going on in the world, it can be very, very worrying, and sometimes you have to take a mental holiday from it all. And I had just decided to do that. I thought, well, I'm going to say to myself that maybe all these things are happening in the world, but I'm going to hope that it's exaggerated. I'm going to hope that it isn't as bad as it seems to be. But I'm afraid that just as you take that mental holiday, you find yourself immediately confronted with reality. What happened to me was that I went into work and I found that I wasn't on my usual timetable. I had been asked to supervise some pupils who were being prepared for a religious education exam. And the means of preparation was there was a teacher there who was talking to them about issues which they were then going to debate, so that they learned how to argue for and against a motion. And the motion was this: this House believes that it is ethically desirable to select for excellence. Well, those people who have watched my video, BBC Promotes Eugenics, and will continue to do so, will immediately realise that there is a connection between eugenics and this idea of selecting for excellence. What they mean when they talk about selecting for excellence is that they're proposing divorcing sexual attraction and reproduction. Those will be two completely separate things. They want to breed babies in test tubes in very much the same way as we have learned from Brave New World. And they think that doing that will enable them to produce people of a superior genetic profile. Now, to be fair on the teacher who led this discussion, I got the impression that he was very much against the motion. I didn't get the impression that he was a member of Common Purpose, which Brian Gerrish has talked about. I certainly felt that he was against the motion, and to be fair on him, time did not permit him to go into the issues in any great depth. He concentrated mainly on explaining to the pupils that research had shown that when people tried to determine what traits they would want to see in children of the future, they tended to concentrate on traits relating to the appearance of children rather than their inner soul. And so he thought that what would happen would be that they would be trying to produce beautiful children. What was not mentioned in the discussion was the fact that once they have promoted the idea of a superior genetic profile, anybody who does not fit into that genetic profile will immediately be considered to be inferior, and he didn't connect this with the eugenics movement, which will determine that these people of an inferior genetic profile will need to be culled. He didn't mention the depopulation movement, which is constantly being talked about. He didn't mention the fact that throughout history, when there has been a move towards creating a superior race, a superior set of people, this has always led to eugenics, to deliberately killing people who do not fit into the profile. And you only have to think of Nazi Germany to see that. Nobody told the pupils that it is actually being proposed that young people should now apply for a license before they give birth, and that if you are considered to be genetically unsuitable for having a license, then you won't be able to have children. Also, nobody mentioned the fact that as soon as licenses are needed, banks such as Goldman Sachs will step in and you will need to have quite a lot of money, so only the wealthy will be able to have children. None of this was really discussed, but as I said before, that wasn't the fault of anybody, because the time did not allow it, and it was also a large number of pupils in the hall. It just wasn't possible to have that level of discussion. The good news, of course, is that the pupils voted against it, and by a large majority. But the reality, I'm afraid, my friends, is that the government is trying to normalise this discussion by putting it onto the religious education syllabus. And we need to be very worried about this, I think. So, my attempt at taking a mental holiday from the horrors that I see happening in the world proved to be futile. One of the really worrying things about when you talk to people about these things, and you talk about the things I've spoken about in this video, what is quite alarming is the reaction that people have. And I'm talking here not about, people who are not particularly the sharpest knife in the box, perhaps, but about people who are really highly intelligent. And the way they react, I find, in any case, and I'd be interested to know what you think, is they react as though they're almost in a trance. They sort of smile and they don't disagree with what you're saying. You can say the most outrageous things are happening and they just smile and they say, yes, that's true, that's true. But they don't seem at all concerned about it. It's almost as though they are in a trance. They are literally asleep. And I don't know what we can do to wake them up, but the sheer volume of terrible things that are happening in the world really has to mean that people have to wake up en masse, because otherwise we are going to be subjected to a tyranny the like of which the world has never known.